The following podcast is recorded and produced by Emerge, a media creators co-op, in affiliation with the network at bicbp-radio.com.
Welcome to the Support Local Everything podcast, a podcast of the Upward Niagara Chamber of Commerce. I'm Chamber President Jennifer Pauley, and it's been about a month since we've been in the studio. We've been busy. The month of August is always a tough month for our Chamber of Commerce. It's the end of summer. It's the beginning, actually, of our festival season with the Northwest Jazz Festival. Took place the third weekend, I believe it is now, in August. And wow, what a weekend that was. That was August 23rd and 24th, and our chamber manages that festival. It takes a full year to prepare for that festival. And then that weekend, we were on the go that Friday, Saturday, finishing cleanup at about 4:30 in the morning, Sunday morning. We make it look like a festival never happened, that tens of thousands of your favorite friends were not there partying. The next day, that Sunday, the street is cleaned, everything is put away, and it's like magic. And I have a team of people that help me with that until the early morning of Sunday. Our crew from Brett's Tents come and pick up all the tables and chairs. I treat them to pizza, and then we go on with our week. So we did take a little break in the month of August, but we're back here in September. We just finished the Niagara County Peach Festival, which is run by the Lewiston Kiwanis Club. My husband and I are both Kiwanians, and I run the Niagara County Peach Queen program, which gives a $4,000 scholarship to a young woman between the ages of 17 and 21. And last night we were able to crown Amelia Fadul of Wheatfield. And she is a student at Niagara University, and she is ready to fulfill her years. Quite a night. Then we move on to the Lewiston Harvest and Hops Festival, September 28th and 29th, in just a few short weeks. So it's a packed time of the year. As we move into the fall season, our chamber just ramps things up with a Business Blender networking event, October 3rd at the Lewiston Event Center. Look for that information on our website. We also go into Small Business Day in November, as well as the Lewiston Christmas Walk and Christmas Lights Parade in December. So we're looking forward to the end of the year. I'm a little tired. My voice is a little raspy. It's the day after a festival. I think we got back home around 10:30 last night, so it was a little rough waking up. But so happy to be back here in the studio. So the next couple weeks, we have some guests coming on who are members of the chamber. And if you're interested in being a guest in the podcast, reach out to the chamber. We'd be happy to have you. Today is something special, though. Today, we turn the camera around. We have our guest, Rich Meranto with Meranto Media and Emerge, a media creators co-op. So why not, interview the host of where our location is and, have a great time of turning the cameras around today. Rich runs Meranto Media with his wife, Maria. Meranto Media opened in 2021, and they provide video production services, install networks, surveillance cameras, and live streaming equipment. They also convert film, slides, and videotapes into digital files. In 2022, they opened Emerge, a co-op for digital creators and photographers, and recently moved to this larger space in Niagara Falls. They are currently producing 12 different podcasts. And if you've noticed and followed along with us recently, you'll notice we have a slightly different set here. So just in 1 month of me being gone from the studio, everything has changed. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And Rich, we're so happy to have you on.
Thanks for having me on. It's kind of funny to say that. I mean, sometimes I produce a lot of podcasts, so I end up talking on the podcast quite often, but it's funny to be like a guest.
Yes.
It was kind of my silly idea, but
it was, but I love it.
Well,
I love it.
Thank you.
Usually we converse before and after our podcast, so this is just kind of like a normal conversation that we're having. But we're so happy to see the growth of your business. It started on Military Road. We did your ribbon cutting. It was a great celebration. You had podcasters there, and just everyone was really excited about that. It was just starting, just growing, and now to be here a year later and have this amazing space, it just shows the quality of what you're providing and that people want to be a part of it. It's amazing. So tell us a little bit about how you started there, how you started the business and what led to that, and then that move right over to here, where it's led from there.
Right. So, I knew when I was retired, I was a school teacher for 31 years in the district of Niagara Falls, and I ran the cable access channel there. And I knew that I wanted to continue to do something video related, but I thought it was just going to be the security stuff, the live streaming applications, installations. I didn't expect that anyone would hire me to do video production. I was kind of surprised because mainly what I did is work with kids, and we did cable access things. We did, the Roam the Region, with one of my alumni, was an intern with you, Christina, and a bunch of things like that. So long story short, my friend and my wife said, well, you guys should start a company to work with all the young creators out there to give them a location, whether it's photography or podcasting or just digital content. So, my wife and I looked for a location. We were very lucky to find this small little store, like basically former veterinarian office that we used for a year. And about 18 months into it, my son, Christian, who's been involved with this heavily, said, "You're out of space. You need to look for something bigger." And the same landlord, Amendola, the Skamani brothers, they had this space available. And we moved here in February and started doing construction, and we're still doing it. So yeah, we moved here, and now we have a lot more space, dedicated photography space. And in the side of that, I'm still doing a lot of the amount of growth of my video production work is growing. I'm doing a lot of video production work for a lot of agencies, and small businesses, and a lot of it's come through the chamber. So, I'm going to sing the praises of the chamber because I've had a bunch of great opportunities that have come because I became a member of the chamber.
Oh, that's great to hear. Anytime that we are out and about, we always sing your praises because it's been amazing. You've helped us turn a webisode type show that we had into something that is a weekly podcast, well, except for the month of August, a weekly podcast, and after festivals. It's a funny thing because Rich always knows the Monday after a festival, most likely I'm not going to be taping, most likely. So that's where August took off. But every time I come into this space, there's something different happening. There's something new added, or a new podcast is signed up. How do people find you besides, the work of the chamber, making connections that way? But how do people find you? How do they know to come here and say, this is what I want to do. Where do we go from here? Usually businesses have a hard time getting things up and going. It takes some time, and it feels like you just started and had people interested and really exploded right away.
It started with a lot of alumni from Niagara Falls High School that, I reached out to that were digital people, digital content people, and they became my kind of core creators, and you've met several of them. And they're a great network of people. And then from there, it just kind of grew, friends of friends. And now people are just finding me randomly because they come across the website. I wish I had a good answer. Or I wish I could, we've been very lucky. People are finding us. I picked up 3 new podcasts, 4 technically, since we've moved here. And we've got people coming from anywhere as far as Lockport, East Aurora now. They're driving 45 minutes to come up here to produce. And, the scheduling's a lot of fun to try to figure out when we can work it all out. But, I've been able to travel for work, which I've never, ever did in my life. I never traveled as a public school teacher. I never got on a plane or drove somewhere in my car with equipment. And I'm getting those opportunities now. And it's a lot of fun to, like, the second act, as my mother calls it, when I retired, the second act of this small thing. And my family's working here with me. My son's here all the time. My wife really runs the company to make sure I don't, she's very good at making sure I don't spend too much money. She's like, well, how much is that going to cost? And she's the president of our corporation. So She definitely serves like really like, just kind of she does that supervisorial thing that's like, well, what are you working on this week? Like, what's your did you prioritize? Like, she's very good at helping me make sure I don't go and spend time on building a set when I have a video editing project to do. And just, again, spending money where it needs to be spent the right way.
Right. Well, you've definitely invested back into the space because every time I come back, there's something different, but you have these dedicated podcast spaces where pretty much anybody who says they want to come in and do a podcast, they sign up for a monthly subscription with you. There's a space for them. You'll make it work. You'll fit them in wherever it happens to be. And you can't find that anywhere else. A lot of people think it's an easy thing to start a podcast, which probably it is. You need a microphone. But there's also these other aspects that go in that I know we don't have to worry about, and that's the production aspect. That's making us sound good. It's making us look good. You've got the lights here, the chair, the table. You have the whole setup. So really all I do is come in, have my guest, do my podcast, record it, and you take care of the rest. That's the program that we have with you. And I think that a lot of people don't understand the back end of doing a podcast, what it takes to have a professional type of podcast, and how you can have some of the other aspects, such as the video portion. We also have this on YouTube. So it's an audio podcast, but you can watch it as well. And having that consistency makes complete huge difference in the output of a podcast.
There's definitely there's so many things you said there. Like, consistency is really important. So if you're just producing your podcast in your basement of your house and you're just by yourself or you're finding a guest, you're not going to be consistent and you're not going to grow. And then you're going to get disenfranchised with it and you're just going to stop doing it. And that's the research that we did. We did a lot of research to find out why podcasts are successful, and most of them don't make it past 7 episodes. Every one of our podcasts, except the ones that haven't got there yet, have got way beyond 7 episodes. We've only had one that quit after a couple. And we don't think that had anything to do with us, but we've got 2 or 3 now that are our original podcasts that are still going. I'm sitting on one of the sets behind me that's a collaborative effort that we built for the young ladies that use this set because they wanted something very specific. So I think the collaboration is important. So they know that on Wednesdays they're coming to podcast. Some weeks they're not really prepared because they had a busy week at work, and so we take our time and we get ourselves organized. But they know that it's an appointment. And so it's easier for them. And when they're here, they see other podcasters coming and going. So I think one of our successes for all our content creators is that they're part of a network. They meet each other. We're all talking to each other, whether it's informally or formally. The opportunity to collaborate with other people, like, we'll invite, we have a Star Wars podcast, for example, that started as a Star Wars podcast, and now it's all things media, but they collaborate with other podcasts. They have those guys come on as guests. We have a Bitcoin podcast, and they had a guest from one of the sports podcasts on. So it's a neat, and because we're all creators, I don't try to do everything. I try to, if someone wants like a TikTok thing, I'm terrible at making TikToks because I'm 57. So, so I try to hand that work off to some of the younger guys and let them do it. So I think that network, that collaborative environment, and that's why it's a co-op. And that has, I think, because we've created where we're no one has to buy stuff because I've got it all. And then you can use it and we can figure out the way, and I love that process when a new person comes in and they're like, hey, I was thinking this, and then I have to kind of problem solve to kind of, figure out how to do it for them.
Yeah. What podcast that you have going on here has the most episodes recorded?
The most, it's kind of a tie. The longest active podcast we have is Tank Talk, which is Jacob Latier, who is one of my former students. He was the first guy to jump on board. He's my right hand quite often. If I want to take a few days off, he can produce for me. He's done very well for himself. He went to school for this. He finally graduated. He's got a job working for Dave and Adams card company up in Buffalo, and he literally broadcast is part of that. So a lot of his experiences here led to him getting his first job professionally. But he comes in every Monday night. We just built him a new set. So he's well over 2 years of episodes. And then the other group that is the one that my son and his friends produce is the Star Wars podcast, 716 Legion. They've been active for over a year and a half, but they produce a lot of different types of content. So it's not just podcasting. They do like reacts and they do TikToks. And so they have so much content because there's 4 of them. And 75% of that content is recorded here. So we have a lot of like, it's not just podcasting because it's one of those silly things when I talk to people, they'll say like, oh, everybody's got a podcast now. And I'm like, well, true, like it's a thing. But I said, we also create other types of content. So we're trying to follow the trends. My son, I brought him up several times. He's the other one that's he's like, no, you're wrong about that. Like he's younger, he's 25. So he understands, YouTube better than I do in many ways. So I've grown by listening to him and Tank and my podcasters and my content creators because they will tell me what they're looking for. So I don't try to just say, well, this is the way you got to do it.
Right.
It's that collab. And I think that's why everybody's doing so well. Then you've met Nico, I believe. He's got the Big Yak podcast. He's been here for over 2 years now. And you've been here pretty close to the beginning too.
Yeah, I was looking back and I said, oh yeah, we did get past that 7 episode podcast. I forget. Sometimes I'm like, oh, what am I doing here? Why are we doing this? But we've had a lot of fun.
But I've done 3 sets of jazz commercials for you. So I think we started those even before we started the pod.
We did. We
got to be coming. I mean, like I kind of lose track, but it's nice to know that we have that, like I said, besides, somebody moves away or, we've had a couple situations where the hosts don't get along anymore. So pods have dropped off. But in general, like I said, I think everybody has grown and we all laugh when we look at the first couple episodes that we did and we're like, oh my God, that was terrible. Like, it's funny to see that we've all grown. Like we're all much better at this than, and that's kind of, I think, why people's podcasts or their content or TikToks, they don't get enough, they don't get enough maybe attention right away, or they're not good, or they're getting a lot of negative comments. So you get disillusioned by it and then you kind of quit. But I think, again, because you can just come and sit in a chair and then it's my job to try to make it look as, add pictures and graphics and then help you upload it and make sure it goes, because you're busy. Like if it's too much time, you would have a hard time justifying it, whether it's part of your business.
Definitely.
Or just in your personal life.
Yeah. If I had to do this all myself, it wouldn't get done. We probably would have done 1 or 2 segments to showcase our members and then just said, I don't have the staff to do this and I don't have the time or the knowledge, as my kids would tell me, because I don't know social media enough. I know enough to get by, but I don't know enough to grow it, right? So your help in this makes it easy for me to take clips or some video and send it to our guests so they can do what they need to do on social media.
Right.
We could do more with it on our end, and I think that's something going into next year that I'd love to explore a little bit more. But you make it easy for us. I have a whole episode already done. You send it to me. We have a great partnership, a great working relationship to make this happen. If I had to do it, I wouldn't be able to do it. And I love the fact that we're able to take those clips and turn them into maybe, 5-10 second clips of something good that our guest had to say, and it's something that will last for the next 2 years. Whatever snippet of information they said was a valuable piece of information. And we can condense that down to 10, 15 seconds, and it can go viral and stay, in social media forever and still make a huge impact.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we looking through our guest list, we've gotten a lot of really great businesses and organizations that have been guests that we were able to highlight. We wouldn't have been able to highlight them the same way had we not had this opportunity to do this. And I think some guests came on here a little nervous, not sure what to do, not sure how to experience it, but then walked away and said, wow, that was amazing. I'd do it again. So that is mostly because you make this place very comfortable and easy to do the job. I can tell you, as somebody who has a podcast, it is a little bit of work on our end. We have to get the scheduling down. Our schedule is podcasts every Monday morning. We record them at 9. So it's easy for us. We pretty much come in every week, do the recording. I know when to schedule in my guests. We send out correspondence to our members to see who's interested. We have some members that we want to highlight more than others just because of their involvement in the chamber. And it's been great to see members saying, oh yeah, I watched that podcast from 2 months ago and I definitely want to be a guest. Because sometimes we record this and I'm thinking, is anybody really watching besides my mom and my grandma? But they are. It's a tool that keeps growing and growing. And we're excited about the possibilities. We're excited about the rest of the year with our guests because a lot of members watch this and they want to be a part of it.
Everybody's podcast is so different. And everybody has to figure out how to use it, the content. And that's the funny thing about it is, like, I try to, when people come in and I do like these like sales call things where they come in or we talk on the phone or Zoom call, whatever. And I'm like, it's really up to you. And every podcast has to be different. Like, whether if you're doing a sports thing, like, your timing is important because if you're talking about the Buffalo Bills or the NBA or whatever it is, like, you got to drop it at a specific time. Like, you have to people have to know you're there, and then you have that consistency, and you have a lot. What are you going to talk about? Is it fantasy or whatever? So, again, being live is big for a lot of the sport, but a lot of people live isn't a good idea. A lot of people need a lot of editing. Some content can be pre-recorded and it can be edited heavily because it doesn't have an expiration date, and but then the reacts, which are probably our most popular thing, and this is a big thing. Like, it seems silly. But we have the group that comes in and they will react live to something on TV. So a Star Wars show drops and they react to it. Watch it. They haven't watched it yet. It drops at 9:00 on Disney and they watch it. And then the one guy takes it home and he edits it down because there's all kinds of rules of how you have to do that so you don't violate copyright laws. And they've learned them. They've done all this stuff. And then the first time they did it with one episode of a Star Wars show, they had like 200 views, 300 views, 500 views, 1,000 views, 2,000 views, 3,000. Like, we were like, it was like being at the casino and you hit, and it was like all of a sudden they were like, it was like 35,000 views. That's and insane. Got liked by, follows, and subscribed by, and it's from there. Now they've just realized they barely do the podcast now. Most of what they do is that weird content.
Yeah.
But it was because one of them said, we should react to that because that's a new thing. That's a new trend. So that doesn't work for the chamber.
It doesn't. I wish it would. I wonder what we could react to. I have no clue. It doesn't work for us, but it works for them.
Yeah.
And that's the
fun
thing.
part of it. It really is the fun part of like figuring out the ways to help your clients. Like, that's a lot of fun for me. And like, and like, wow. And then occasionally you get the thing like, well, your sound isn't very good. Like, well, and then there's reasons for that because, the guy's going back and forth to the microphone.
You're reacting normal.
And I laugh to that, but I take it personally because I'm like, what do you mean the sound's not good? But we always get great comment. We get, our production values, I think, are getting better. And like my podcasters and my folks are all like, hey, could you get even our photography room? And I'll throw some pictures up of our photography. We're very proud of the photography space that we've created. Because I'm not a photographer, but I know that like photographers don't have studios like back in the day.
Yeah.
So we want to be able to help young photographers or experienced photographers have a place where they can come and have, multiple spaces where they can do some things. But I don't know about photography, so I know some photographers. My niece is one, for example. And I said, what kind of equipment should I have? So we went and bought the right kind of equipment and built an environment which we think will benefit photographers. And we've only started to market that. So we feel like for us, if we can get that really going,
that will grow.
That will grow just over time. But we're patient. We want it to be nice and working. We want to get all the bugs out before we we don't want to make mistakes and let people down. Let's put it that way.
Right. So you have so many different aspects of your business. What is the best website for people to come to find out more? How is the best way for them to contact you?
Merantomedia.com. Everything is on there. We're all over Instagram, Facebook, Meranto Media. Most of the time it's funny because there's Meranto Media, but there's also Emerge. Mm-hmm. So we tend to use Emerge media creators more for marketing on social media, because we're trying to market more of what we do with the content with Instagram, on Facebook. So I'm more active on those channels, on those two platforms at Emerge Media Creators. But then if you just want to find everything that we do, just go to merantomedia.com.
Yeah, so it's a little twofold,
yeah.
but it's all encompassing and so many different options for that. And I think a lot of businesses and organizations could benefit from checking out the website and finding all the opportunities that are available. I know we've been able to make some connections just from our guests who need things such as, a commercial recording or a little snippet of, somebody coming in with a professional camera to take a photo of all of the developments that have happened inside their building. There's just been different opportunities that businesses have not realized they needed until they've come here. They've sat in the chair. They've learned about what you offer. And then they say, oh, yeah, actually, we need this, that, and the other. So it's nice to be able to go to the website, see everything that you offer, and take advantage of it. Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, we've had a fun time here, and I can tell you, I did not see myself sitting in a chair doing these types of recordings. I would say about 5 years ago, even 3 years ago, even 2 years ago, when we started doing a recording similar to this. We had a different focus. So you had mentioned roam the region. Christina, who was my marketing manager at the time, she's gone on to do amazing things. She's with Danforth. She had a communications background, and she worked with you at Niagara Falls High School when she was a student, and she started the Roam the Region program, which Rich first started recording with us. This was before COVID. Then when she went on to get her nice big new job, we were so happy for her. We stopped because she was the one with that experience. COVID had hit, and we needed a new opportunity, a new way to get information out. And that's when Suzanne and I started doing some Facebook Live type things, some recorded things, really easy, low grade, just little announcements and things like that. And people started watching it. When we were regrouping to see and figure out where we could take something like that, that's where this podcast ended up, coming out of. And it's been so great. I love it. I would have never thought 2 years ago this is where we would have been able to grow and to be able to showcase our members in a different way, just as the podcast, as the video, just as I said. And now, we're able to look at different ways of getting the word out there. It's so funny because last November when you had an open house at your former studio, we were talking and introducing all of ourselves, all of the podcasters there, and I told them, I said, well, I'm the boring one because I can't do some of the, their reactive type of videos and things, but what we can do is where we found our niche. We can interview our businesses and organizations and let them have the floor, so to speak, to amplify what they do. And you're helping us do that. So we appreciate it. It's
fun. It's funny because you brought it up, like why you guys did it during, when you were kind of, there was something, I don't know, the experience was positive. Mm-hmm. And that's the one common thing that all the podcasters and all my content creators talk about is that it's there's this creative outlet. And if you have your job, or if you just there's something you're passionate about and there's really no way to express that, content creation is a lot of fun, which is why TikTok and all these things have grown. Right. But at the same time, like you said, it also there's a when you've had guests on that maybe hadn't done something like this before, I think nothing is better than seeing someone talk about their business and how much passionate it is. Like when the Rum Runners were on, they were so passionate about it, and it's a startup business for them. They weren't business people. Yeah. But this is something that you want to go and support their business because you see them talking about why they're doing it. Like, and I think there's that aspect of creating content is a way of meeting the person behind
Yes.
the agency or the business, as because it makes you want to, like, oh wow, these are fun people, I want to interact with them.
Yeah, it's so funny. The way we communicate now is completely different, and content creation for a business or organization is definitely something that should be on the priority list, because that is how people can see a different, just like you said, a different side of the business or the organization. I think print, television, digital marketing, TV marketing, all of that has its place. The organic stuff and the content creation that you can see on social media has a different feel to it. It's completely different, and it really highlights that business and organization in a different way, and you're helping make that happen.
I think so.
Very
I appreciate
exciting.
that. Yeah.
Anything else to add, Rich? It's been
No,
great
this was
having
fun.
you.
It's
I know.
I really appreciate the chamber. You were an organization that very early on gave me an opportunity, and I very appreciative to anyone that has been willing to trust Meranto Media or Emerge, our family, to support you in your endeavors. So we're very, very, very appreciative to anyone that's given us a shot. Even like the folks that call us up to say, hey, can you convert our family videos? Like it's very satisfying to do something like where someone can see their parents' movie, their wedding movie from 1963, and and oh my God, my grandpa was in the background, and like there's I don't know, like everything we get to do has been fun, and it feels like it's a fun place to be in terms of where we are. To be excited to come here all the time and and work. So I really do appreciate the chamber, especially because I feel like you were like the first legit one. You were like a real organization that gave us a chance. So we really appreciate you guys a lot.
It's a great partnership. Definitely a great partnership. Well, I think we wrapped up our podcast for today. It was a great conversation. These are the conversations Rich and I have before the podcast starts and after the podcast starts. So it's just felt like a normal day, right? Just normal way of getting in. But we do have our other members scheduled throughout the rest of the year. But if you are interested, let us know. We'll get you in on the schedule. Sometimes we have some cancellations and can move some things around. But it's a great opportunity to talk about your business. Join us next week on the Support Local Everything podcast. Thanks for tuning in. And thanks, Rich, for joining us again today.